All right. Well, with that being said, let's finish up the show by doing our Chaos of War segment where we're going to talk about the late great statistics for week 3 and cover a few of the lists that I felt were interesting. All right. Welcome to our Chaos of War. This is our discussion of PQ analysis. This is our competitive piece, I guess, as much as it can be. There was a whole bunch of PQs last weekend, and so we're here to cover a little bit of the statistics. There's a couple of cool things that kind of came out of it that I really wanted to talk about, like the Gar Saxon yellow coming back. That's pretty cool to see, especially that beating out a Han 1 yellow. Like, man, that's some crazy stuff. With Han 1 yellow coming out very strong lately, seeing something top over that makes my day. So I'm going to run down just kind of the top two. So in Melbourne, Australia, we had Gar over Han 1 yellow. We had a Han off with green versus red in Spain. I think that's Spain. We had a Bossk green, not an ECL, but an actual Bossk, like a 30 health green Bossk beat out a Mace blue. And then we had a second Bossk green, which is crazy, right? Like now we're seeing Bossk green all of a sudden. And we'll talk about it, I think, in a few minutes. But Bossk green over Han red in London. Paris saw Han yellow over Anakin blue. France saw Django Tarkentown over a Bossk green. Mississippi had a Han yellow beating out a Bossk green. Houston, Sabine ECL over Han yellow. Then we had Dallas had a very blue top where they had an Anakin over a Bossk blue. And then St. Louis, I guess they had 2 PQs. I don't know why it says 2 over there, but it says 2. So maybe they had 2 PQs in St. Louis. And they had a CAD Tarkentown over a Bossk blue. Baltimore saw Han green over Akira green. Portland saw a Han yellow over a Django Tarkentown. San Diego, another bloody Han. This one's a Han Tarkentown over Krennic ECL. Minneapolis, see, the US hasn't figured out that you don't have to run Han. Like, it's just like everybody in Europe's like, oh, we're past Han. But it seems like the US is only running Han. So here we have a Han yellow over a Sabine ECL. Then in Edmonton, we had a Quinlin blue, which I'm very excited to go over that deck if we ever can get that deck. Quinlin blue over a Sabine ECL. And then we had another Italy one where we had a Quinlin Tarkentown take down a CAD Tarkentown. And then the last one to round out the weekend was a Django yellow taking over a Django Tarkentown. That had 14 players. That's the PQ we should have gone to. That's crazy. Yeah. I think that Django yellow has to be an anomaly. So overall, to date, we had 51 total PQs. There's been an average of 76 people per PQ. That's pretty good, I think. I think that shows the health of the meta. We do have Han with the top number of wins coming in with 13 for yellow and 2 for green and 2 for red. So that is pretty high for winning. Sabine is still up there. Bossk making a very strong performance. Look at that. Bossk coming in here with 4 wins with Bossk green. That's crazy. We didn't even know Bossk green was on the radar. I bet people will be swerving to that this week. It's actually a pretty fun deck to run too. We saw a little bit of that in set 2. If we look though at our top 8, Han is obviously, Han yellow is the highest top 8. But we also have Chancellor Palpatine. Look at that, Alec. We got a yellow Palps in there. So excited. Where's my red Palp, babe?
I mean, sure, like Palpatine is in there, but he's 9th.
Got Palpatine in there making tops. Over Kira, look at that. It's over Kira too.
As it should be.
I disagree with you. Anyway.
So it's actually kind of interesting that it's like, 31 Django Reds get top 8 to have won a PQ. I think that might be like the biggest disparity in terms of like top 8 to conversion to win PQ rate. So that is kind of interesting that, like, it'll get you to the top 8, but you're probably not going to win it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Actually, that is very interesting, right? Because, like people are now taking Hans and doing tops with Hans and they have a higher win rate. Bossk technically has a pretty high win rate comparatively overall, being in there. So it's interesting. And I do agree with you. Like, do you think, Alex, it's because they aren't able to take it over the finish line, or do you think it's just easier when you're in that top 8 bracket to start, that you've already teched against it and it's just easier because you're already teching against it?
Well, it's not even like necessarily teching against it, but just having like answers, because you're like, well, I know Django Red's gonna be here, right? And that's a pretty straightforward deck to like counter, right? Because if they're like pretty heavy into space, you just have more Space Sentinels, or try to deal with like the pings and with shields, or you like, on yellow will just, they drop something with triple dark raid, you just waylay it back in their hand, right? Or so you already have like counters already to it, so I guess that is kind of attacking it, but like it's such a well-known play style too, and pretty straightforward, because like attacking against Yellow Han, it's kind of like a random list of like, well, here's what you can put in your deck and it will help in these particular situations, as opposed to like, I mean, you just run triple Concord Dawn Interceptors, right? Kind of thing. So it's interesting. And then also I think with a lot of Tarkin towns in the meta, like, 3 of the top 5 people that are making top 8s are running Tarkin down, that it's much easier to slow their momentum down or kill it with the Tarkin town, right? So specifically, Django Red, because we've been playing that for a couple months, playing against it.
Yeah, all over the board, right? If we look at the most represented leaders, it's Han, then Kira, or Kira.
Sabine.
Sabine.
Nice try.
Han, Sabine, then we have Quinlin, Django, Bossk, and Cad at the bottom there. If we go back, it's still a pretty good mix. Spark of the Rebellion's a little bit higher, probably because of that Bossk.
Because it's Han and Sabine.
Han and Sabine being up there as the 2 highest. So that if you take those out, I think we'd have a decent mix. So I don't know. I don't feel we have another video where I'll talk about Han. I don't feel Han is such as like extreme menace, but you're welcome to go ahead and check that video out. I'll have the link in the comments. Is getting released this week, so I go into more depth there. Let's not get into it here. I'm more interested in talking about some of these lists than anything else. So we're going to kick off the Saxon Yellow. JJ, look at this list, baby. We've seen this list before, but this has got to be the updated list, and this is not by Gandork. So I'm a little surprised. He swerved to the Han Yellow, and look at this list. This looks pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually admiring this list. I mean, it's such a great change and update to this one here. So we got this Garth Saxon Coronet City combo here. We got 3 copies of Hotshot DL44 blasters. We got 3 Snapshot reflexes, 3 McClunkies, 2 Inferno 4s, 2 No to Be Deads, 3 Crafty Smugglers, 2 Bazines, 3 copies of Dr. Evazon, 3 Mercenary Gunships, 3 copies of Breaking In, 1 Boba Fett, 3 copies of 7th Fleet Defender, 3 Clients, 3 Lurking TIE Phantoms, 2 Tor Calicans, 2 Perilous Positions, 2 Waylays, 2 TIE Advanced, 2 copies of Lon Pike, 2 Super Commando squads, and 1 Cad Bane to round off that list. And then in the sideboard, we got 2 top targets, 3 confiscates, 1 additional TIE advance, 2 Change Your Hearts, and 2 clan sacks and gauntlets on there. It's actually really interesting to see this kind of mix. You got a lot of cheap cards that you can play early on that allows you to kind of press the the aggressiveness of the list there allows you to get some damage in early. The mercenary gunship, definitely a really great pick for this, just to have that early space presence on there. I am really surprised though to see the one-offs there. I mean, I love the one-offs. You got
The
Boba
irony.
and Cad Bane as a one-off there. I am really interested in the TIE Advance add-on onto this. I know that it pairs well with Garth Saxon, mainly because you can easily just give either the Lurking TIE Phantom or the 7th Fleet Defender that extra experience, which then doubles up with Garth Saxon's ability there. Just a really interesting combo there. I feel like the space side is a little more stronger there. And then you're able to finish off your opponent with the super commandos and Cad Bane coming in there for you. The really interesting tech is definitely the Clan Saxon Gauntlet, because you can then move one of the experience points off of one of those ships to somebody else, and then give that buff from Garth Saxon.
Oh no, JJ,
there,
that's the other
immediately.
gauntlet.
That's the other gauntlet.
That's the one when that's attacked, you just give
yeah,
one
you're
of your
right.
units an experience.
You're right. Yeah. So, but still, it's such a great add-on for this particular deck, just upping the amount of attack power they could deal out on this. So yeah, it's definitely great. It's something that I definitely want to try out, because I definitely liked Garth Saxon when it came out there. I just never thought to put a combo like this together. And yeah, this is a really solid list. It's a lot of fun.
One thing you missed, JJ, is that both the Super Commando Squad and Garth Saxon himself is Imperial. So that TIE Advance experience can either go to Garth Saxon, pushing him up to 7 damage, or putting it on the Commando Squad, which then they become a 7/6 with Sentinel. Also, your TIE Phantom swings for 7, which is really silly on turn 3. Also, I assume they only own one Boba Fett, and that's why the 2 Toros are in there, right? Because like the Toro literally only triggers if you have Boba Fett, and it's not an underworld, so it doesn't work with McClunky.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they just don't own triple Boba Fett, because I see no reason why not to run 3 Boba Fetts, because you get the bonus from McClunky out of it, and it's the same stat line. As you're probably not readying Toro, because you'd have to get the one off in your deck Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I mean,
or I guess one off Cad Bane too, which you're not. What would you even do to get to that point in that game?
I'm a little surprised that we don't have Val in here, or because Val works very well. That's what was used last set with the TIE Advance, because you're able to put Val down, drop your TIE Phantom, and then if they kill Val, you just go, okay, here you go. Like, boom, I'm putting experience on it, and you could choose to do 4 damage to it. I don't care. Merry Christmas. And it does nothing.
So right at the end of set 2, I was actually playing Garth Saxon Yellow for a bit with roughly that same deck that I don't remember his name. You know his name. Yeah, him. He was playing, this really cool Garth Saxon Yellow, and he like won a showdown with it or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's really cool, and it works well because like you have the hot shots and the snapshot. The snapshot reflexes you can use them on your space. So you put that on a Phantom. Like I ran this deck close to it. I switched some things up for me, but yeah, you put that on like a Phantom, all of a sudden it just swings for 6, and also the 3 health. It's pretty impactful. You can't just like run an arc or whatever into it. But a lot of it just works because it's like I have shielded units, they're sticky, so I'll still get my damage in, and then also they just do an extra damage. Either when you swing into them, it's not ideal, but at least your unit's still alive, or they just hit harder. Or you can just play Boba Fett and smuggle out a Hotshot Blaster and swing for 6, which is really scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also confused why we would have the Toros in there. I mean, I guess it is a 3/5 body, but I don't know.
Yeah, and so is Boba Fett.
I mean, because it's not Imperial, so it's not like you can use your... I don't know. I don't know what you use it for.
I think it's literally they only own 1 copy of Boba Fett unit. And put it in there.
All right. That's probably fair.
And also, like, it's kind of interesting against other aggro decks because you actually have the client, right, who can heal if you start getting a little bit down there. Also, he's Imperial, so you can just put a tie advanced on him, and then all of a sudden he's like a 5/7 or whatever.
Yeah, he's stupid when you do that.
Yeah, and that's why you have to tap targets on the side too, because if you're going against like a really aggressive aggro deck, you could probably kill something.
And I think one of the things too, like with this, is it's the same way as like there's no triple dark raid in here in the same aspect that you had before. That was something that was used a little bit before too, because you could drop your unit, drop that tie advance, dump your things, pick it back up, and that was used in the. It wasn't the Moth Gideon deck. It was the Tarkin deck, right? That was what was used in that Tarkin deck.
I mean, and also my Moff Gideon deck, sure, but mainly in the Tarkin one. But you only got I think like 13 space units in this deck, so it's kind of wonky. You don't want to like blow that many resources.
Yep. You're right. That would make a big mistake.
I'm a little bit not like weirded out. Just like I'm shocked they don't have like a couple jetpacks in there because you can smuggle those, and that gives you the shield and +2 attack. Like you get one of your units to live through it. You know, if you put that on a super commando squad, they're a 7/4 with a shield and sentinel, or 2, I guess, if they didn't hit them yet. Yeah. And that Lompike's really funny because you're just like, yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna continue swinging with extra one points of damage, and we'll figure it out later. Hopefully, they don't kill me.
Well, the best part about Lompike is you can swing, give yourself the shield, and give a shield to somebody else. If you're just going to base anyway, what do you care, right? Like, I mean, you're now a 5/6, so Merry Christmas, you know.
The other funny thing with Lompike is because you're running triple break-ins, you can actually, because that gives you saboteurs, you actually kill all the shields off a unit if you need to, which is really fun. Which is also my assumption, other than like you're not dying to sentinels, like you get past the sentinels, is why they're running breaking in instead of surprise strike.
Yeah, which is what I had been doing in my Django deck specifically because of that. Because then I could just go to base and I have to I just don't have to care about you. All right, let's move on. We've got a Han green deck. I think, Alex, we went over this last week, if I remember right. It's a very similar one. I didn't see a lot of different changes in this list over other lists.
Yeah, honestly,
there's no Luke. I think that was the difference. Is there isn't a Luke. They have the Empty's nesting,
right?
Like Luke last time,
which is still wild to me. But yeah, it's nice seeing like Han Green was, always good, always relevant, but Boba Fett usually was able to like kind of suppress it down a little bit. But I mean, like from playing Boba Fett a lot, like yellow and green is a fine hero combination. You get a bunch of cool stuff. With Han, you can always get that extra reach. So drop a Kira early, right? Call whatever they're gonna do, or play Plo Koon when you have 4 resources. So you use Han, and he's gonna stick around. So
yeah. So I don't think this one's too much different. This is obviously still trying to do the same DJ Han or DJ Tech combo. There's resupplies. I don't think the other list had resupplies in there. I think that was the big difference. I feel
like you should always have resupply with Han, because it allows you on turn 4 to drop Luke, or to drop Han, or Ephes in this case too, or U-Wing. So it was always really nice to like have an extra resource, bring out Han, swing, add another one, then drop your 7 when they're still trying to play like 4 cost units.
Fair enough. We are going to go over the Bossk green though. Alex, what is this Bossk green list? It's got a couple of off-color cards in it that I've not seen played before. So in this deck.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a Bossk green. It's got 30 health. It's not ACL. This is kind of a wild JJ deck here, let me tell you. But, the concept's the same, right? You use Bossk, you try to ramp, you put on price for your head, you get the double ramp, you go huge. So it has 2 Salacious Crumb, triple Bounty Hunter's Quarry, double Timely Intervention, 1 Admiral Piet, 2 Colonel Yularen, sorry, not Admiral, 1 Force Choke, Triple price on your head, 1 Kylo silencer, 1 death mark, which is actually kind of surprising because that is a bounty. 1 client, which you will occasionally see in Bossk green decks. Triple phase 3, triple super laser tech, double punishing 1, triple resupply, triple open fire, triple overwhelming barrage, triple ruthless raider, 1 pirate battle tank, triple Vader, double maul, triple reinforcement walker, double Palpatine, 1 crate dragon, 1 devastator. In the side, you have the second force choke, double scanning officer, which I'm sure is very useful against Han, a second client, double the disabling Fang fighters, 1 Palps return, double relentless, and a second crate dragon. I don't know. I'm a little bit confused. There's 8 one-offs. You don't have like a lot of card draw, like, so you're only running 1 death mark, so like I don't know how you're trying to get to the rest of your answers, but it is just super ramp and then drop big guys and hope they can't deal with them.
Yeah, I'm very confused too. Even why, like, I get why you have timelies to some extent, but at the same token, why have the timelies in there when you could have like more death marks or something in there? Like, I don't know.
It is smuggle, which is semi-relevant, I guess, against pillages and force throws.
True.
I guess. That's why I assume they have the pirate battle tank, is because it's a sentinel and you can smuggle it out. I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess. I don't. It's just weird.
If you're already ramping hard, you're not really going to be too concerned about paying the additional cost for the smuggle in there. So having that extra card in your resource pile to bring out at a later turn is very useful. For the timely intervention, honestly, I mean, it's just one of those cases where sometimes you just take advantage of what you can, right? Like, especially if you can timely intervention a super laser tech to swing into something really immediately, and it becomes a resource. It's something that could be useful rather than just playing it, waiting for your opponent to kill it, or taking a turn to send it in and try to kill something. You can bring it out immediately, and have that resource there immediately. You could potentially kill something there, especially if you spent your turn previously setting up your bounties, just getting that added bonus of getting a resource and getting your bounty out. With that timely intervention, super laser tech swing can be really useful to help you get to the higher resource counts that you need for all your big cards out there. So yeah.
So I just have to ask a question, and maybe this is just me, but why in God's green earth, like, what do you do if you draw super laser tech price on your head on your like 5th resource turn? You have no big units. What are you doing? Like, I mean, there's so much ramp in this deck. Like, I guess I get it because it doesn't matter what Han does. Han can't just strip your ramp because you got plenty of ramp. You just got 1,000,000 pounds of ramp in here. But like, what do you do if you don't draw your big units? Do you just?
So what do you do if you
cry?
only draw your big units?
Yeah, just cry. Is that what you do? Or yeah, you draw them all at the beginning and you just. I don't know. Like, the issue I had with Kira is when you get your hand, they start stripping your hand, you don't have the ability to be able to have a bunch of extra cards. So Dr. Pershing is great for that specific, line, is because you drop a Pershing, what are they going to do? Kill it? Well, fine. That's 5 damage that didn't go to your base. But really, like, the big thing is like, I don't know. I feel the consistency is off in this deck, but I really struggle with what do you do if you draw, there's so much ramp. Like, this is more than Pelp Green ramp. Like, I don't even think Pelp Green runs this much ramp.
Yeah.
It is kind of like, it's weird because like Bounty Hunter's Quarry has like 15 targets, right? Which is okay, but like, what if you flip it over and you'd have like, cool, here's my Piat and it's turn 3, right? Like, it's kind of weird. Like, the Bounty Hunter's Quarry is that like that, but you only have 1 Piat. So what are you trying to do for, all your 6+ cards, which would be cool if they have ambush, but you only have one Piat in the deck. You think a little bit more consistency? I don't know. I mean, it's cool that you can like play the client off Bounty Hunter's Quarry, I guess, because you play it for free if it costs 3 or less. So
Yep.
you can do it. And that's nice, but like it seems like it hinges on a lot of very specific hands, like hand states, I guess. And like I don't know if maybe I haven't played the deck, obviously not this version of it, so I'm not sure if there's a very weird line that I'm just not seeing. It just seems like you can just get really screwed. Like, what if they just play a bunch of space units, right? Like, what are you doing? Like, you hit them for 1 damage with Bossk because you throw a bounty on them?
You're opening fire or overwhelming barrage.
Overwhelming barrage still requires people, and like your biggest one is your phase 3 trooper, or like the Kylo silencer, or the punishing one. At that point, like I don't know. But yeah, it's I mean, it won, right? So maybe there's something I'm not seeing. It just seems like wildly inconsistent.
Yeah, I don't like only one Devastator too. Like, just put two. Just put two Crate Dragons or 2 Devastators in. Come on,
Like for me, honestly, just taking a look at this, I think it's one of these decks that really relies on swapping out cards on their sideboard on there, right? Because if you're worried about facing off against somebody that has mill, you have that ability to just keep that extra ramp in there. But if you're not facing against that, then you can easily swipe out that restock or that resupply and put in your additional Crate Dragon and Relentless they have in the sideboard, or add in the extra Force Choke in there, or Palpatine's Return in there for your bigger units on there, and then just play as you need to. And I think that this deck relies on that sideboard a lot more than most of the decks.
This is a great deck into control for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's a like if I was running a control deck, I wouldn't want to see any of this stuff.
Never.
I just don't know. Right. I just don't know how it like steamrolls aggro, I guess. That's my only.
Yeah. Well, let's look at another Bossk green that won as well. So like let's look at another one, because this one I felt like this is probably just more my play style. Maybe that's why this is closer to my like to some sort of like a pulp style deck. This one has a 3 Bounty Hunter's Quarry, 2 Timelies. This one runs 3 Daring Raid and 3 Force Choke, which makes me feel so much better. And then we have the 3 Price on your head, 3 Kylo Silencer, 2 Death Marks, 3 of the Phase 3s, 3 of the Super Laser Techs, 3 Punishing Ones, 3 Cell Block Guards, which we haven't seen in forever, 3 Resupply, 3 Devastators, 2 of the Ruthless Raiders, 3 Vader, 2 Maul, 3 Walkers, 2 Pelps, and 1 of the Crate Dragons. In the sideboard, they have the 3rd Death Mark. They then have 3 of the Sentinel Black Suns for space. They have that 3rd Ruthless Raider, which I just think should just be mainboarded too. 3 Pelps returns, 1 Crate Dragon, and 1 of the Devastator. So this one has no Relentless, which I also think is crazy, and no Scanning Officer. But this one, the Bounty Hunter's Quarry triggers like so much more consistent. Like this feels more like what I would expect to win, because this feels like this is more what I would call like more mid-range to like softish control, but probably more on the mid-range piece, especially with Bossk coming out, on that 5 resources. In this one, he could play that Bounty Hunter's Quarry, bring Bossk out, and just like double bring a unit out. And he has like, he's going to hit the units. Like he's actually going to hit the units this time, like, whereas before, I don't know if you hit as many of those units, for it.
Yeah, it's a little bit kind of wild to me that like your only first turn unit is Kylo Silencer, but like I get it, because like they play a unit, you put a bounty on them, you do 1 damage to them. Daring Raid actually is really nice. with a bounty hunter's quarry, because like
Yep.
you bounty hunter's quarry, you ping them for 1, you put daring raid, you'll kill their 3, and then you get a free unit out.
Yep.
Which
Yep.
I like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're running a lot of ground sentinels too for presumably how you deal with aggro, right? Like what I was talking about last set. You only play the cell block guards if you have triple phase 3 troopers already, right? In green.
Mhm.
So you just putting them all in there. And that's fair.
Yeah, this one, like, I think I would drop a resupply to add my Ruthless Raider in. Like, I don't know if I
Go to
need
51.
or go to 51. I don't know why you would not have 3 Ruthless Raiders. That's just personal opinion. I just would never not have that. They're just too
Yeah.
good. Especially with bounties and being able to dump that and just do crazy stuff with it.
I'm weird. I would probably drop an overwhelming for like a Great Dragon.
Yeah, I could see that too. That one would be okay as well. I could see that as a good consolation for
Well,
it.
adding the 3rd Ruthless Raider in there.
Yeah.
Just run 51. But yeah, it's cool. Like Super Ramp is fun to play for sure, but very, very frustrating if it like
Doesn't work.
if you're only drawing your high cost units and you're just like, cool, I haven't played a unit in 4 turns.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to another deck. This is the Django Tarkintown deck. We're not going to cover the whole deck. Really, the big thing that is different in here is they have 3 on the doorsteps.
Sure.
But 3 on the doorsteps. They have 3 on the doorsteps in this deck. That's crazy, right? Like, I guess you get 3 droids. That's like 3 damage. And then you can just exploit the stupid things for a Geonosian fighter, right? I don't know. You tell me. What do you do with this?
I mean, the tank too, right?
Sure. Yeah, you get the heavy pursuer tank or whatever that is. But also, if you play like on the doorstep, you just have a 1/1 raise. So if they're ready, you just hit someone, you can tap them down with Django. And if Django's out, I guess you get more tap downs, right?
That's true.
So it's a cheap way of doing that. But yeah, also a bunch of exploit fodder.
Yeah. So that's kind of the new tech that came out for this deck. Like I don't, there's nothing different in this deck that they put 2 swoop downs in the sideboard as well. I think that's logical, but moving on to an Anakin Blue. Also, this deck we don't have to go through in great detail. I didn't see a lot of anything different in here, but this was another one that won a top for it. Except for Embo, they have Embos in here, and we've not seen Embo be played. Is Embo's the one that heals, right?
If he completes an attack and kills the unit, you can heal up to 2 damage from him. So actually, he can swing for 5 with Anakin's ability. So he's more likely to kill things. Like if they had like a Cassian out or like a Boba or whatever, you can swing Embo in there, kill him, and then essentially take 1 damage as long as you live through the attack, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So really, that's the only kind of innovation that we had in there. JJ, we have a Han 1 red list, which this one's a little bit different. I don't think we covered this last week, so why don't you go ahead and run through this list?
Yeah, so we got 3 copies of Heroic Sacrifice, 3 Hotshot DL-44 blasters, 3 Sabine Wrens, 1 Spark of the Rebellion, 2 jetpacks, 3 Surprise Strikes, 3 copies of Millennium Falcon, 3 Cassian Andors, 3 Liberated Slaves, 3 copies of DJ, 3 Techs, 3 copies of K2SO, 3 copies of Kira, 2 Sabine Wrens, 3 copies of Poe Dameron, 2 copies of the Lando's Millennium Falcon, 1 copy of Mace Windu, 3 copies of Han Solo, and 1 Emphas Nest. And then in the sideboard here, we got 2 No Good to Me Dead, 2 copies of Spark of Rebellion, 3 Disabling Fang Fighters, 1 Waylay, 1 Change of Heart, and 1 Crate Dragon to round off the list there. Definitely a nice blend here of aggressive play here for Han, and it just pairs very, very well. I love the DJ combo on here to add in here. You got actually a decent amount of smuggle. I do like having that Cassian Andor on there just so you can have that unit they could pull in later on if you need to there. Sabine Wren definitely is a card that I have not seen played very much. That is a really spicy add-on to this particular list here, especially with her ability to discard a card from your deck for the damage there. Feels like a mini Poe Dameron almost for a cheaper cost. But yeah, it's definitely a nice list there, a nice change to what we've seen so far for the Han Solos.
Yeah, and for Sabine, the trigger is just, it doesn't match the color of the base.
Yeah.
And you have 19 red cards in here. So everything else probably trigger if you're willing to like part with the card, right? Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of free damage, but also
and on
she's
top of
a
that,
pain.
yeah,
You
and
can't attack
if you're smuggling the blaster and Cassian, you're even adding on more likelihood for you to draw non-red cards. It's great.
Yeah, and like you can't attack her when you play her, right? Because when she's exhausted, she can't be like targeted as an attack unless she has Sentinel. So like, she is just kind of a pain. Like she'll stick around, and like you can hot shot her and just swing for 6, and then they can't do anything about it unless they have like hard removal, right? So that's kind of cool. I was looking for a deck to put a Sabine in.
Yeah. I think here it makes a lot of sense though. So I like that here. We've not really played a lot of Sabine lately, so it's kind of one of those things where I have all of them, but what do you do with it, right?
Yeah. I mean, like it's a cool deck. I'd probably add like either another Mace or another FS. It makes it a little bit more consistent, but you know, it's good. Like it's surprising. Like people won't see it coming.
All right. So we got a couple more lists to go, and then we'll probably be done for the night. We have a top 8, another CAD ECL list, and I thought this was pretty cool. Something that we had seen once before, that I kind of wanted to highlight because I really like the idea behind this list. This is got 3 blasters, 3 McClunkies, 3 cartels, 2 no good to be deads, 3 crafties, 3 bazines, 2 clouds, cloud riders, 2 clouds. They got 2 clouds in there, of course. 2 surprise strike, 2 bobas, which is odd. They've only got 2 bobas in there. That's a very low amount of bobas to me. 3 of the super laser techs, 3 resupplies, 3 of the elite P, whatever you want to call them. 2 of the, now there were 2 of them, 2 Waylays, 2 Gamorreans, 3 Forlom, 2 Bossk, 3 Zuckuss, 1 Xanadu Blood, 3 Balls, and 2 of the Cad Banes. Sideboard obviously is teched probably for Han with 2 Scannings, the Relentless Pursuers, which are Relentless Pursuits, 1 Overwhelming Barrage.
Just the one in the side, just in case.
Just the one. Yep. 3 Palp's Return and 2 Relentless. So this is crazy that there's no, other than that, there's almost no green cards. This is almost like a completely yellow deck, other than Resupply, Maul, and Super Laser Techs.
Yep.
Which means Gamorrean Guard's going to get off all the time. That's good, right? But
yeah, exactly.
I think this is kind of similar to the one we'd seen before. A little bit different. There's no overwhelming barrages and only 1 in the sideboard. You just might as well not have it then, right? Like just get rid of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, 1 Xanadu is kind of weird to me too, but you know, whatever, it's fine, I guess. Then now there are 2 of them can pull out a Maul, and that's pretty terrifying because he's Underworld.
I think they
And then
should.
you overwhelming barrage them.
Well, I think they should have more Xanadu Bloods. Like, I actually like the Xanadu Bloods, like, especially because if you play you have a Xanadu Blood and you play like a Bazine down, then you swing, you can pick your Bazine back up, right? And I think that's really good because it stops them from killing your Bazine, so you can still strip their hand every turn without having to McClunky. And that thing hits for 6/6, man.
Yep.
Like, that's good. Like that stupid ship is pretty good for, those. And I have 2 hyperfoils. Yeah, and you can exhaust resources. You don't even need Zori. You can just do that.
Also, yeah, they're incredible in hyperspace and hyperfoils, though. Beautiful.
Yeah, I have 2 of them, so like I would be running 2 just because I have 2 of those. It's a neat little deck. I think this is something that people should look out for, like especially if we go more to a Han Yellow meta. Something like this might actually be decent into a Han Yellow, if you're able to control their board a little bit more. The last one, JJ, look at that. It's a Thrawn green deck. We're going to go out on a high note. I've never seen this list before. JJ, what is this Thrawn green deck? Because, by the way, next week I have a Thrawn blue deck tech that I'm coming out with. So, I don't know. Now I feel like I should be switching to Thrawn green. What is this list?
Yeah, it's definitely different from what I've seen so far for attempts for Thrawn here. So let's go through it. So you got 2 copies of Greedo, 3 Bib Fortunas, which we'll come to that in a minute, 3 Bazine Natals, 2 Dr. Evazons, 3 Super Laser Techs, 3 Triple Dark Raids, 3 Resupplies, 3, now there are 2 of them, 2 Strafing Gunships, 2 copies of Forlom, 2 Overwhelming Barrages, 2 Bosks, 2 copies of Syndicate Lackeys, 3 Zuckuses, 2 copies of the Geonosis Patrol Fighters, 2 Xanadu Bloods, 2 Mauls, 2 Cad Banes, 2 Reinforcement Walkers, 2 copies of Relentless, and 3 Devastators. And then on the sideboard, we got an each of Greedo, a Bazon, Gunship, and Forlom, and then 2 restocks there on the side there. Really great, actually, because you're able to use Bib Fortuna to get your event cards in a lot cheaper, so you can use your now there are 2 of them a lot faster, or bring out your resupplies if you need to with the now there are 2 of them. Or sorry, I completely said that wrong. Ramp up with resupply and super laser tech to get your larger cards out there sooner. And then having the ability to use Bib Fortuna to also get the overwhelming barrage on turn 4 is actually really strong as well, especially if you already have out like a card out there like a Dr. Evazon, who's a 3/3 who can now become a little more stronger, and you can almost clear out the board there a lot quicker, be really good. Or even if you put that on your strafing gunship, who can now go into the ground units there, and they're taking 2 less damage in return as well, with the overwhelming barrage there as well. That's really, really strong for early play, but it gets even better once you combine that with Maul, as he can get that big overwhelm damage once he's buffed up by overwhelming barrage. It is so strong. And with the amount of ramp that you got on here with Super Laser Tech and Resupply, you're able to get to that point a lot quicker. And then you got a little bit of regen with the reinforcement walkers on there, and then of course the Devastator and Relentless, just 2 great capital ships to end there. It's going to be really tough. You got a lot of ways to take out enemy units there. You can exhaust the remaining units with Thrawn's ability on top of that, and I mean, yeah, it offers a really good amount of control, and you have a lot of great units there to push in a lot of damage really quickly. So yeah,
I just have a question. Like, do they have the Relentless and the Devastators in there just for the triple dark raids for the late game? Like, you just bring them out early? Like, is that why? Like,
I absolutely would.
They also finish games. Like, the Relentless is great against other control, and Devastator's the Devastator, right? Like, okay, but they do finish, but you don't have like a middle, like Imperial unit, 2 of them, right? This is mostly off the triple dark.
Yeah, and how are you getting to this? Like, right? Like, how are you controlling the board? This feels like you can't swing too much with Dr. Everstand, or you're giving them all their resources back.
Well, I mean, you're stripping their hand with Bazine, and you're exhausting with Thrawn almost every other turn. I mean, you got a lot of options on there to just keep on, picking and choosing who you want to leave on the board to do the attacks until you could build up to there.
What's kind of interesting is like on turn 2 at 3 resources, you can exhaust them with Thrawn. And if you have Bib Fortuna out there, you can also play another or 2 of them for a 5-coster, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Exhaust
I just don't know
they have, because you should be exhausting pretty much everything, which is the crazy high power, like high cost curve in this deck, right? So there's that.
So,
but you're playing on a lower curve though, because you spend a resource to do that,
right?
So I don't know.
So with Bib Fortuna, you can affect resupply, right? So you can essentially Bib Fortuna resupply for 2 resources, right?
Yep. And then there's also Thrawn or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bib Fortuna is kind of cool. Because again, like, exhaust. Now there are 2 of them. Bossk can just kill whatever I just exhaust, right? Or Syndicate Lackeys or Sockets or something. And that's just kind of annoying to deal with, I guess. But yeah, the Eva Sand's kind of interesting. Like, what are you trying to do with that? Like, couldn't you do crafty smugglers? It's 1 less attack and defense, but also like you don't give them their whole turn back.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my question. Like, I mean, and maybe they've tested it. Crafty is really good because this guy comes in with a shield, right? And it's
yeah. Like I could see like Eva Sand if they're running Vaders, because it is a villainy and crafties aren't villainies. So maybe that would be a choice, but they don't have Vader, so I don't know.
I don't know. This is interesting. I like unique decks. This made top 8, so I don't know. That's pretty cool, right? Like,
pretty wild.
This is definitely this is a fun deck. I feel this is a fun deck. This is something I would at least take to locals. It sucks because I already have my Thrawn Blue build. I've been playing my Thrawn Blue a lot, actually, just because I like Thrawn. But I don't know. Wild, crazy times. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us this week for another amazing episode of Planning Phase Syndicate. Let us know if you like the new format, breaking up the videos a little bit more, trying to give you smaller content, which is really just bigger content that we record all at once. Let us know how you think, and we'll be back next week with another amazing episode. Thank you. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the flippity flop.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.